Hi, I am Aenor de Pessac, the Kingdom of Ontir Arts and Sciences champion, and we are here at June Fair, and we're going to interview some of the many amazing artisans that are displaying to the public today to ask about their art and to learn more about how we can get started in all the amazing different things that they do. So let's go. All right, here we have Nigel. Nigel, tell me a little about yourself.
Hi, my name is Nigel Compton. I live in the Barony of Aquaterra, that's in Snohomish County.
What's your art that you're doing today?
Today I'm working on a leather pouch. I do a lot of different leather projects, including mugs and bottles, but today I'm making another pouch really similar to this one, and it's getting nearly complete. I tend to make these not for sale, but to donate to our barony and to the kingdom. So a lot of times people ask me how much you sell them for, and I really don't have a price. They just end up being given away and hopefully getting gifted by barons and kings and queens to deserving people.
That's awesome. So did people in the past use leather pouches like this?
Yes, they definitely did. Medieval clothes really don't have pockets. So men have leather belts and would typically have some kind of leather pouch hanging from that. Women a lot of times had more of a woven cloth belt and would have a purse made from cloth with strings attached. And there's an old term called a cut purse, and that came from women having their purses grabbed, the strings cut, and the thief would run away with them.
Wow.
So later they developed a slit in the dress to be able to tuck the purse inside to make it not so easy for somebody to grab it and cut the strings and run.
That's really cool. So if someone wanted to learn more about leather making themselves, what would you tell them? Where would you tell them to start?
I think YouTube is a great place. When I was researching on how to make leather bottles and things like that, I found lots and lots of videos walking you through the whole process. You can find videos showing you how to make leather mugs, leather bottles, various different leather pouches. Almost any kind of leather project you can think of, there's probably a YouTube video out there, somebody showing you how to do that.
That's really awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your art with us.
Yeah, thank you.
We are now with Gwen the Potter. Gwen, tell me a little about yourself.
Well, I am Gwen the Potter. I live here in Bremerton, Washington. We're not actually just down the street from the fairgrounds where we're at right now. In the SCA, I do the arts and sciences mostly and do pottery, which is what we do here. Every year we come to June Fair and we set up this pottery booth and throw pottery on our kick wheel. It was me, Gwen, and Mistress Morgaina of the Woodlands, who lives in Idaho, in Moscow, Idaho. She comes over here every year to play in the clay with us, and we really have a good time. And we also get a lot of people coming through here. We have been busy all day long. And
so how was pottery used in the Middle Ages?
oh, it's for everything. I call pottery the paper plates of the Middle Ages because it's disposable and everybody uses it. It's not used by the upper class so much. It is used by the lower class or in kitchens. You use it for cooking, mostly cooking, storage of food and drink. Don't see too much plates because they use metal for plates or trenchers or something like that. So you don't see a whole lot of cups and things, except for a little bit later on. However, if you look at the paintings of Bruegel, you will see cups and mugs, and it's a great source for getting what they look like.
Awesome. If someone wanted to learn more about medieval pottery, what would you recommend they do?
Start off with Googling Middle Ages pottery, and you can see a lot of things. And look for the good books. There's a lot of them out there, especially books from museums that have pictures of actual extant objects. One of my favorite books in the whole world is called Utensils from, I think it's 600 to 1800, and it's a book showing the actual extant pieces and paintings or drawings that show those pieces being used. So it's great documentation for that.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your art
You're
with
welcome.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are now with Sigridr Vilhjalmsdottir. Sigridr, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you live?
I live in Poulsbo here in Washington, and this is where I grow my flax.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about your flax art that you're doing today.
So today we're showing the process of, I have some pictures of my growing process. We're showing how that flax is dried and processed, broken, combed. I have several hackles here that we have to show the process of the combing to get the fiber. To be taking it from something as coarse as this, getting it finer and finer, and finally getting it to a nice soft fiber that can be spun. So that is one thing we're showing today. I have also been showing the process of spinning over here. So that's been rather people have been loving to see the spinning process. And then we also have spun fiber that we are showing that's unwashed and washed, and then fiber that is dyed with woad to be as period as possible, and then also to show the final product of a woven piece of fabric that I grew.
That's really amazing.
So that is what we are showing here today.
So if someone wanted to learn more about doing this kind of work, what would you recommend they look at?
Well, for going to the Viking Center, the Ride Viking Center in Denmark has wonderful, very informative videos on not only growing, but the processing in an early period style. So that is where I gleaned a lot of my information. And then just for growing, going online and finding out just when to plant, how long it takes, how you should care for it, when to pull it. And that is just something that's easily found online.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your art with us.
Thank you for stopping by.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful day.
We are here with an amazing artisan. What's your name?
It's Meisterin Cunigunde Franckenstainin, but you can call me Mistress Frank.
I love that.
I am doing brocaded tablet weaving. It's a very popular art for Norse as well as Renaissance German, which is what I've been transitioning mostly to. One of my favorite books right now is the Roslein and Velken. It is a translation of Codex 551, which is a book written by nuns in the 1400s.
Awesome.
Yep, and they are fabulous patterns. There's full alphabets, so you can create written messages in your tablet weaving. I'm using a warp-weighted loom because the way that you do brocaded tablet weaving, it creates a lot of twist because the tablets are constantly turned forwards. And so allowing me to undo the twist as I go is the way to go.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So how would they have used this in period?
So there's a lot of paintings that have narrow bands, and there's different theories on how the bands are used. This book specifically has words in it that say that the bands were used as hair bands, as well as belts, and as well as seam trimmings. So a lot of the ecclesiastical garments that you find in period for the Catholic Church, for bishops, they would use these really expensive, fancy gold threads, and they would have them on the surface of the band, and the band is a much sturdier fabric that can be moved and turned into different trims, and as your clothing would wear out, you could easily remove it and move it to the next garment. And so it's a thrifty way to use your gold, if the Catholic Church can be called thrifty. But for a lot of the noble families in central Germany, the nuns had specific patterns that identified those families. So they would weave these bands for the local patrician families to identify them, and for their daughters for hair bands. A lot of the paintings and engravings, you see them with braids and a simple band around their hair. A very wealthy family would have had a brocaded band with pearls and gold and sometimes gemstones.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you recommend this book for people that are interested in getting started?
For sure. This is one of my favorite brocaded bands, especially since it doesn't have any hate symbols.
Awesome.
In the book, which I prefer. A lot of tablet weaving has those patterns, and so you have to be careful if you're getting into tablet weaving, and you want to avoid that as much as possible. This book is great for that. I also, Claudia Wollny is a great author. She has several books out, but my very, very favorite brocaded, or my regular tablet weaving books are done in the Finnish books, and that's Appleseeds and Foxnoses and the sequel to that. Those are amazing beginning tablet weaver books, and they helped me understand the technical stuff that sometimes stops people from doing tablet weaving and getting into it as much.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for sharing your art with us.
Thank you.
We are now with Dame Ellen Fraser. Dame Ellen, can you tell us a little about yourself and what you're here doing?
I am demoing bobbin lace today, and I've been making bobbin lace for probably 45 years. I started because, as you can see, the tools are beautiful, the product is beautiful, and it is not as complex as it looks. Just like if you're a knitter and knitting, everything is based on a knit stitch or a purl stitch. In bobbin lace, everything is based on either a twist or a cross. And the combination of twists and cross and the pins make your pattern. I find it very meditative.
So, when did this show up in history, and how would they have used this in period?
You see lace beginning to appear toward the end of the Elizabethan period, and much of that is not bobbin lace, it's needle lace. And there's a great controversy within the lace community whether bobbin lace evolved out of needle lace or evolved out of macrame, because it has elements of both. But we're not clear. So little textiles actually survive out of that, especially something as fragile as lace.
Yeah.
And one of my early pieces, I took, they will say we have no patterns, we have no, other than the book La Pompe, and yet we do. We have the same sources for lace that costumers do, portraiture.
Wow.
And I did a study in portraiture of lace, and I redacted some patterns. And the most interesting thing about it was I was redacting a pattern from a coif. So there was like maybe, just this much of the coif.
Yeah.
And the artist painted it 3 different ways. And so I got to figure out by trial and error, in order to make it look like what it needed to be, what was the artist representing.
Oh my gosh.
So it was an intellectual thing,
awesome.
And it was fun. It was frustrating, but fun. And I live locally. I am very near Keyport, and I've been here since 1988.
So if someone was interested in learning more about bobbin lacing, maybe get started in it, what would you recommend that they do?
I would recommend that they join a local guild. Talk to a lace maker, sit down, lace makers are very generous people. They love to let people try out their tools because there's a little bit of an investment. You need a pillow, you need bobbins, you need pins, but you can make. I've made a couple of my own pillows, so it's not impossible. But getting the initial equipment is why you want to join a lace guild, because they can help you get the equipment. They can give you lessons, so you don't spend a ton of money on equipment and find out that it's really not for you.
Yeah.
But you can, and they can help you over the hard parts, and they're just really a lovely community.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for sharing your art with us. We are here with Sigridr Vilhjalmsdottir. Sigridr, what is the art that you're doing today?
I am doing calligraphy, bookmarks for the guests that we're hosting today.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about calligraphy in the medieval period.
Because there was no printing presses in the medieval period, all documents and books had to be handwritten by scribes in scriptoriums. And it's the art of writing beautifully.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What are the instruments that you're using to write with?
Today I'm using a quill pen and a reed pen.
Very cool.
And our ink is walnut ink.
Very cool. So people turn walnuts into ink.
Mm-hmm. Walnuts, oak galls, the little oak apples that form on oak trees sometimes.
That's very cool.
There's a lot of things you can use to make ink.
That's really awesome. And what are the kinds of things that you do in the SCA with calligraphy?
Calligraphy is used to usually make awards and recognition documents for the members of the SCA as they achieve different levels in their arts and their sciences and their volunteering. And as an arts and science in and of itself, there's a lot of people that have a real passion for it and will make entire books and documents and poetry and musical scores.
That's really cool. Yeah. So if someone was interested in getting into calligraphy, what would you recommend they do?
Books are always great. My personal favorite thing for people to do is start coming to our scribal nights.
Perfect.
Yeah, so the SCA would be happy to teach you how to do calligraphy.
Thank you very much for sharing your art with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
We are here looking at some incredible woodworking. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little more about your art that you're doing?
Thank you. I'm Matusz Zaplaka, and I am doing a lot of demonstration of tools that were used during the Middle Ages to what is comparable today that some people just don't realize is there. For example, I'm sitting here on a piece of board, just the same thing that I got over at Home Depot. So it's nothing special, right? And the board's long enough that I'm going to be able to cut it up into some panels. But before I did, I was showing how we drill some holes. So this is a bit brace, and it's based on the Mary Rose replica. Or I should say this is a replica of the Mary Rose tools. And what it is also a spoon bit / spade bit, depending on how you sharpen it. And what we do here is I can then go and make a little hole, and that hole can be for a peg, or in this case for our game board that we're going to do. And one of the really neat things is I can also drill the hole inside and drawing boards together. Mary Rose sank in 1545, King Henry VIII's flagship. One of the things that was preserved was the carpenter's cabin, and it was full of all sorts of tools. So this is a reproduction of one of those common tools. And I like to point out what's old is new again. This is a tool that, as you can see, very modern looking, and you could go to the hardware store today and get one and start practicing on your own.
It looks just like the historic tool.
It just looks like the historical tool and behaves the same way.
That's so cool. If someone was really interested in historic woodworking and tools, where would you point them to start to learn more?
Well, locally here in our area, the Port Townsend School of Wood and Boat Building has a great program for using hand tools. And so I would say go look at there. Also go look on YouTube, because YouTube is full of people who are embracing the hand tools. Some people may call it medieval. Some people will just say, look at this cool thing I'm doing.
This is really, really fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing your art with us.
No problem. Thank you for asking to be here today.
Absolutely. Good job. We are here with Dame Elizabeth Piper, who, as you can tell, is an incredible musician. Can you tell me a little bit more about your art?
Well, first of all, music is one of the oldest things that we know goes with humanity. And music told stories. Music was a thing to dance to. Music was a thing to make work easier. Music was sometimes just a thing to do because it's fun. And music builds community. And one of the things in the modern world is that because there's a system of some people are really good and then other people are considered to be not so good, that competition and comparison and making it part of a sort of part of an industry, part of a profession, whatever, takes it out of the hands of the common people. Mm-hmm. And in fact, music is one of those things that is just part of being human. So my passion is to make music, but my passion is also to teach music. And it's what I do in the SCA, it's what I was laureled for, and it's what I do in the modern world, and it's just kind of a big chunk of my life.
So if someone wanted to learn more about music in the SCA, music and history, what would you recommend that they go look for to find out more?
Okay, well, we now have the miracle of the internet. When I first was teaching in the SCA, it was really hard to give people sources to listen to and to really immerse themselves in. And so now there's YouTube. And you can ask for things like medieval music, or you can do a little bit of Googling and you can find out who the composers were from the time period and the place that you're interested in. And then you can look them up, and then you can just plug them in, and music from that culture will appear.
That's amazing. But what if I want to learn how to play an
Oh,
instrument?
you want to learn how to play? Well, it's possible to get some help from the modern world, but they're going to direct you to play the music that's not going to be useful here, and you'll get some skills, and that's not a problem. But I am not the only one who teaches, but I probably teach more music in Ontario than everybody else put together. Because it's my passion.
Yeah.
It's what I do. I will teach usually 2 or 3 classes at any event I'm at. So, if you can come to my classes, I'm just gonna say do it. It's worth it. I'm pretty good.
Awesome.
And so I teach beginning harp. I will bring harps to events, and people can have a chance to play for an hour. I also teach ukulele as a Renaissance guitar and harp on Zoom.
That's awesome.
There's a Facebook group, and should I plug it?
Sure.
The Facebook group.
Plug away.
The Facebook group is Pacifica Region Harp and Ukulele. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect.
And join the group, answer the questions, and go from there.
Perfect.
Connect me.
Perfect.
And so those classes meet twice a month on Zoom. Twice a month harp, twice a month youth. I take absolute beginners and people who have more experience, and we just take turns and share with each other.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your art with us.
You're welcome.
We are here with Rakeza, who is doing some cooking. Rakeza, can you introduce yourself and tell us about your art?
I'm Rakeza Zapolska, and I cook things. And what I have here today, if you want to look at this pie, this is a pie from a 16th century German cookbook, and it's a spinach pie. What we did is we blanched our spinach in this nice pot here and chopped it up and put it with currants and Parmesan cheese. And it was a small pie, so I just folded the edges of the pastry over. Normally I'd make a closed pie with that. But this is from a German cookbook. The cookbook is Sabine de Westerland, who was a wealthy merchant family member, and she has a cousin who eloped with a member of the royal family. So they had to make a big bribe. But anyway, she wrote a cookbook, and it's got about 200 recipes in it, and this is one of them. And we baked this today under our cloche on our fire. This is our cloche baking system. The way this works, this is a geranium pot from the nursery. It's an unglazed terracotta pot. And what we do is we build a fire, and we put the cloche on bricks like that so it's near the fire and it gets nice and hot. And then when we're ready to bake, we move the fire and we sweep it out. And you put whatever you're baking where the fire had been.
Fascinating.
And then the cloche goes down over that, and then the coals get mounted up around it. Now, because it's got a drainage hole, we have to plug that up. We cheat, we use a plant pot holder, but you could take like a piece of pie dough or something and plug that up. And it bakes it just like it's in your regular oven.
That's really cool.
About the same time amount. And we also bake bread. We baked bread earlier. We've done things as delicate as cheesecakes with this method.
Wow.
And it works for just all sorts of things. The important thing is to get an unglazed pot, because we don't know what's in those lovely pots that come from other places in the world. But it works really great, and you break it, you go to the nursery and buy another one.
So if someone was really interested in historic cooking, what's a good resource that you would point them towards to learn more?
There's some really nice sources online. There's a website called A Book of Good Cookery, which is a really nice one. And from there it links to a lot of other sources. If they're local, they can come to our newcomers night next week, and we can hook them up with our local culinary guild, because this is my guild. And these are all the people who help me out, and some of them have been with me many, many years, and some of them are newer. But
What branch are you from?
oh, we're from Dragon's Lair, the Barony of Dragon's Lair, which is here in Kitsap County, Washington. And we're a very good-sized barony, so we have people who do calligraphy and arts. We have all sorts of fighting skills and archery and thrown weapons, and on and on and on, all sorts of things. We have a social every Tuesday at the VFW Hall, which is on the other side of the highway from here. And we also have archery practice and other activities that go on. The Culinary Guild meets separately once a month. Sometimes we go out to eat and call it research.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we cook from medieval recipes. We do have cookbooks we sell. So, but that's what I would say to do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing your art with us.
Thank you.
There are so many more amazing artisans here at June Fair, the Kitsap Medieval Faire, that you can come and see and learn all about the incredible things that they're doing. But there are too many people for us to bother throughout the day and learn about all the things. The SCA is full of so much incredible art, and our kingdom is full of brilliant and curious and fantastic people who want to share with you what their art is. And I highly encourage you to look into one of the arts that we were introduced to today and to learn a little bit more and maybe try your hand at something.